Missing value is the most important step in any kind of data transformation. So we need to deal how PySpark will work with the missing values. See, what are missing values? Those values which are not defined. It, it can be null values. We call them as a null value also. Null or the none. Now there is a difference between the null and the blank values. It's a minor difference. In the blank, we don't have anything written. It is an empty text. Okay. A text containing only spaces. There will be a space there. Very different from the null value. Then NA when it is written as a text, is not automatically null. Null value always it will be written as a null or the none. Now let's do some practical and understand how we have to deal with the null values. To get the notes, you can easily download the notes from the GitHub profile. For these steps, you can watch my previous lecture. Now what we have done, we have defined the data frame here. First, this is the data. These are the columns. This one is the customer ID, customer name, city, age, and the salary. Now we have created data frame using the create data frame function, data comma columns, df.show. To detect the null values, there is a simple step, df.filter. See, df.filter. Then in which column you want to check the null value, df.city. Inside the data frame, we are checking the city. Dot is null, whether that column has value is null or not. If any row has the null value, then it will give us the true and false. If any record has the null value, then it will give you as a T, true. If not a null value, then false. And we always know that true means 1, and false means 0. So dot show. When we do dot show, then you will get the true values where city is null. City is null value. To count the null values, you can simply, instead of the dot show, you can use the count function. Now to detect the not null values, df.filter.city.isNotNull.show. Same function, same syntax with there, just function we have used it, dot is not null. Now null value count in every column. In the earlier example, we have counted the null value in the only one column, that is city. So if we want to check the null value in every column, how we can do that? First, we have to run the loop inside the for each column, df.columns. Then, for example, how many columns are there? Customer ID, name, city, okay, salary. So for each column name will be picked. Then we will use the dot filter function, data frame dot filter. Inside that filter function, we will check that whether that column, for example, customer ID dot is null, whether that column has is null or not. Each row has is null or not. If it will count, it will give the values like this for each row: true, false, true, false. Okay. Then count will count only before count function. Filter function will filter out only the true values. Okay. And then dot count function will count the number of truths. So it will give you the number of null values here, column wise. Now to remove a row where there are null values, simple we have to use the data frame dot array. It will remove any row wherever there is the null value in any of the column. Okay. It will remove all the rows where there is the null values. This record, Mira record will be removed. Then fourth, Pune record will be removed. And third. So only which record Amit, Sneha and Karan will be removed. Now how equal to all means? It will remove the row whenever all the columns are null. Not any one of the column are null. You can use any also, by default it is any. Any means just as we have seen in the last example that rows will be removed when if any of the columns got null. Now if you want to remove the null value from the selected column, then you can use the subset equal to the columns which you want to use. So it will check the null value only in these two columns. Now we can define the threshold that this number of rows should be. We can also define the threshold. Threshold means we can say that we will keep the row when at least 4 columns have the not null values. Right now we have studied that how we can set the null value and how we can delete the record. But in some cases we want to impute. Impute means we want to replace the null values with the desired values. So we can use .fillna, and what it will do, it will fill all the null value with the 0. By default, when we are using the 0, so 0 is an integer number, so it will only fill those columns which have the number like data type. It will not impute the column where it is a string. For example, city is not imputed, customer name is not imputed with 0. Only age has been imputed. So here you can see city. In city we have the unknown and in also customer name also. Now if you want to fill, this is the most practical way. For each column we have different type of value we want to impute. For example, here customer name we can give the unknown, city we can give the unknown, for age we can give 0, for salary we can give the 0 wherever there are the null values. Or we can also impute the null value with the average. To calculate the average, use the select statement, and inside the select statement use the average of the age. We dot first 0. It will fetch the average. Then simple you can use the dot fill average. Handling missing value is the most important concept. In fact, if you have studied pandas also, we have given the more weightage to the null values. This is the most important step in the data framing. Whenever there are a blank string, blank means it is not null, but value is also not there. So let's see whether we have any record. Yes, it is a record where we have the blank. We have imported the trim function. Trim function will remove the extra spaces. So what we have done, we have selected the column city. In the column city we have the null. Null we have already understand how to deal with. So we have the blank. Blank is nothing. And then we have the space. Space has something inside that. There is empty space. Not a 0. Just an empty space. So now we want to use these two. For empty value, for empty blank value, we can use directly this. For the space, or to deal with the space, we can use the trim function. Trim function removes the unwanted space. Then we can we check that when we remove the unwanted space, then it will also become like this, the blank value. So whenever there is this values blank, it will filter on the data. We can convert those values to the null also. How? This is a more practical way. Data frame for bit column. We are using the column city. Sorry, we are creating a new column city. When trim is equal to this. Whenever trim city is equal to this means it will convert the blank and the empty into an empty. It will replace that with the null. Whenever we encounter a value where it is a blank value or the space value, then it will give the none. Okay. Dot otherwise, if there is no blank or not null, then it will give the actual value. Dot otherwise. Dot so. To convert the NA, the same NA is also whenever there is the NA, it will give the none, and otherwise it will give the actual value. We can combine all these steps, whether it is null, whether it is space or the blank value, whether it is NA, it will convert to the none, otherwise the main value. Effective when we have to input the one here. Null value. If you compare in the city, these unknown with the null actual null. These are some space or the empty string or the blank. And this is the NA, which has been converted to the null. We can also use the replace function. This is very important. To replace, we can equal the NA with the unknown. From which column? City column. Thank you for watching the lecture. For any doubt, you can reach out to me in the comment box. And for notes, you can download the notes from the GitHub file.